Hello guys, my name is Troy, welcome back to my booktube channel, and today I'm going over my 20 book TBR, which, just hear me out. So yes, last month I read a total of like 4.5 books, and it wasn't a lot, and I did have a reading slump. I was having some issues, but let's just say my reading streak is on fire right now. It is September 3rd, and I've already read 2 books, and I'm also 75% through my 3rd book. So basically, I've almost read 3 books this month in 3 days. So basically, I'm just on fire. I am really excited about reading this month, and I think that I'll be able to get through all 20 of these books. I really think and hope and pray that I'll be able to get through all these. But yeah, basically, I have like 10 audiobooks that I want to read this month and 10 physical books that I want to read this month. A lot of these are shorter books because I do really want to focus on reading more books because I feel like I got really caught up in like the lengthy books last month. That's the plan. If you guys are excited, make sure to leave a like on this video. Subscribe to my channel down below for more bookish content. We are at like 1,210 subscribers right now or something. It's crazy. We're also about 2,300 watch hours in out of 4,000. We are doing great, guys. But yeah, without further ado, let's start this video, and I think I want to start with my audiobooks because those are more fun. So as I said, I have 10 audiobooks that I want to get through. I think the max is about to be 10 hours for these audiobooks. I'm picked out like kind of like between 6 and 10 hour audiobooks this month because I feel like I can whip through those 3 or 4 days, sometimes even 2 days for the 6-hour ones, because I do have the speed on like 1.75 or something. So yeah, basically I've just been reading a lot of audiobooks because they're really short. I'm really able to get into them, and audiobooks are probably my favorite type of format of book because I really enjoy like listening to books, and like it feels a lot more real and emotional, especially with romances. Like I can really feel the building of love and connection within the characters. So I guess let's go over the books that I've already read in terms of audiobooks, and I've only read 1 audiobook this month, and I'm in a 2nd audiobook. But the first audiobook that I read this month was Simon vs. the Homosapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli. And if you guys did not know, I recently read What If It's Us, which was by the same author, also by Adam Silvera, and I have to say, for this book, I didn't enjoy it as much as What If It's Us. I'm going to do a much more detailed talk about Simon vs. Homosapiens Agenda, but basically I just feel like it wasn't as good as some of the other books I've read, and I feel like I'll talk about this more, but I feel like some of the characters were less relatable. There's a lot of characters that I just couldn't understand and wrap my head around, and there's just so much going on, I feel, and I feel like there wasn't actually much of the romance in the book. But basically this book is about this boy named Simon who is gay, and basically he's 17, he's going to high school. He's been emailing this boy named Blue. They're basically talking about like their sexuality and stuff, and they're basically emailing about that. They start to grow a connection, but then one day another boy from their school finds out their emails when looking at like a computer or something, and basically that boy is gonna blackmail them and make him like do stuff for them, and basically he's like on this like edge of like people like having his secrets, and he has to like I guess give this guy what he wants so he doesn't get his secrets exposed to the world. And also it's like this kind of mystery between who is Blue, the boy that Simon's texting. Like it's a really cool concept. I just feel like it wasn't as executed as well as I would think, because if I did change it up a little bit, I'd want the romance part when he does find out who Blue is, I would want to have that extend. But like still, it was just a really good book. I really enjoyed it. It was a fun like high school romance book. I don't know. Anyways, the next book that I read was The Ruins of Goreland by John Flanagan, and this is the first book of the Rangers Apprentice. I'm reading this right now. I am 74% in. I don't know if y'all can see that. I'll try and see if it focuses. I don't think it wants to focus, but yeah, basically I got 74% into this book. I only have 2 hours left. I plan to finish that tomorrow. But yeah, basically, anyways, yeah, so this is the first book in the Rangers Apprentice series, and I was really looking forward to reading this. A lot of people have recommended this series to me, honestly, and I don't know, I feel like I was never really interested in it, but I honestly saw that it was like 8 hours, and I was like, okay, that's a perfect length. That's like a good quick read that I could read in like 4 days, and so I just picked it up, and I'm really excited to keep reading it. And basically this book is about this boy named Will, and he lives in this world where there are these rangers who basically kind of protect the world and protect protect like the governments and stuff, and especially because of the evil person named like Morzan or something, or Morgorath. He's starting to rise with his like, you know, evil villains, and he's trying to strike the empire. And then Will, who is born or he's an orphan in the castle, he gets chosen to be the Rangers Apprentice, and so he starts training. And then we also follow Horace, who gets selected to go to Warrior Academy. He's getting bullied there, his life is really miserable, and I don't know, it's just a really good like high fantasy medieval book, and it's just kind of like really cool to see like the two perspectives of Horace and Will, the secret Rangers Apprentice Society, and also the rising of Morgorath, and also just kind of like, it's not the whole book is like really necessary to the plot, which normally I wouldn't like, but I actually liked it a little bit. Honestly, I feel like the Ruins of Goreland is just a great kind of starting point, because I know it's going to get a lot deeper within the next few books, but still, I just think that this is a really good, like, you know, starting point to get to know the characters, to get to know their powers, get to know their backstories, and kind of get to know them and start rooting for them. And I cannot wait to read the next few books, which I'll talk about, I guess, right after this. Okay, so the next two books on my TBR are basically from the same series. It is books 2 and 3 of the Rangers Apprentice series, and the second one is called The Burning Bridge by John Flanagan, and the third book is called The Icebound Land by John Flanagan. And these are basically a continuation of Will and Horace's adventure through this medieval land to stop Morgorath. And I'm pretty sure the second and the third are going to be like with Morgorath, and then I'm pretty sure there's going to be new villains that come up in the rest of the series. So I want to read the first 3 books from the Rangers Apprentice series this month, and I want to eventually get to the other ones, because there is a total of 12 books in the Rangers Apprentice series, but these are all pretty short books that, you know, go together, medieval high fantasy that I'm really interested in, so I can't wait to continue the Rangers Apprentice series. But yeah, those are my first 4 books on my audiobook TBR, and my next book on the TBR that I want to talk about is Artemis Fowl by Eoin Colfer, or I think it's called Owen, I don't know this author's name, but basically, it's finally time to read Artemis Fowl. I've had so many people recommend it to me, I've had so many people like talk about it, and I really just want to read it because the synopsis is not really detailed, and I like that, because I want to go into the story not knowing anything. All I know is that this guy kidnaps a fairy. That's really all I know, and so I'm really excited to read it. I'm not even going to read the synopsis or look at it right now. It's going to be a really short audiobook. It's going to be 6 hours, which is going to take me about 2 days to read, I'm pretty sure, so I'm really excited to read that. I'll probably read that this weekend. But yeah, it's basically about a boy who kidnaps a fairy. I can't say more than that, and I'm really excited to read this because, you know, I think Disney made a movie on it. I think it's like a really hyped up book, and so yeah, I've been really excited to read that, and I placed my hold like a couple of days ago, and I finally got it, and I have it for the next 14 days to listen to, and I'm going to listen to that as soon as I finish Rangers Apprentice book 1. So yeah, and the next book that I plan to read on my audiobook TBR is Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert, I don't know. I'm bad at pronouncing authors' names if you haven't already known. But basically, this is another romance book, which I'm kind of excited to read, but this is also my least favorite or my least intriguing book or my least anticipated book of the month. It's basically another romance. I'll read the synopsis to you because I like doing that for romance books because I don't know anything about them, so I'm just going to explain them. But here's a synopsis. Chloe Brown is a chronically ill computer geek with a goal, a plan, and a lit. After almost, but not quite dying, she comes up with 7 directives to help her get a life, and she's already completed the first, finally moving out of her glamorous family's mansion. The next items: enjoy a drunken night out, ride a motorcycle, go camping, get a boyfriend, travel the world with nothing but hand luggage, and do something bad. But it's not easy being bad, even when you've written step-by-step guidelines on how to do it correctly. What Chloe needs is a teacher, and she knows just the man for the job. And so that's all I'm going to read from the synopsis. It seems kind of almost like there's another book that was similar to this, like The Kiss Quotient or something. I'm not sure, I didn't read that. But it seems more of like an adult romance, which I guess I'm just going to try. I don't know if I'm going to like this, honestly, but still, I'm going to give it a try. I'll give it a try. I'll give it a shot. It's probably also the longest audiobook on this list, so we'll see. Again, I don't know, this is not like my favorite because it's like I like reading young adult romances. This seems like an adult romance, but we'll see. Alright, and so now this is a perfect time to talk about the Next Chapter Book Club's pick of the month for September, which is Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. And again, me, Sukrup, Nidhi, Eric, Bella, and Elise, 6 people from our book club, are going to be reading this, and we're going to be having a live stream on Sookgroup's channel, Sookgroup and Books, which his channel is linked in the description. We'll be doing a live show on his channel for this book sometime this month, and we totally recommend you guys read it with us, and then we'll do the live show. You guys can participate. We did one for What If It's Us last month, and a lot of you guys came to talk to us about the book. It was really fun. But yeah, that's basically our pick, and let me tell you a little bit about it. I honestly haven't read too much into it. I know this is a poetry book though, so I'm kind of hesitant about it. Like, it's written in verse, so I'm like, I don't know. It's bringing me back to like my English days when I had to like read poetry and then like answer questions. Like, anyways, Camino Rios lives for the summers when her father visits her in the Dominican Republic. But this time, on the day when her plane is supposed to land, Camino arrives at the airport to see crowds of crying people. Oh my gosh, I don't know how to say this. Yahaira. Oh, and I had a classmate that had the same name. Anyway, Rios is called to the principal's office, where her mother is wanting to tell her that her father, her hero, has died in a plane crash. And so these two girls basically meet each other, and they basically didn't even know they were sisters, and so now they have to, like, their father's dead, which connects them together, and basically it's a lot to handle, and so we get to see these two sisters, which I guess this is a really interesting storyline, but still I would rather it not be written in poetry. So yeah, I'm just really excited to read this. This is going to be another 6-hour audiobook, which is going to be short. I'm going to listen to this really, really quick. I might even be able to read this like in one day, just take a whole day to really process this book, and I'm so excited to talk about it with Sookgroup, Nitty, Eric, and Elise, and Kira. It's going to be a great time. Alright, let's get on to the next book. And the next book is The Land of Roar by Jenny McLaughlin. That's an interesting author name. Placed a hold on this as soon as I saw it because there is a dragon on the cover. That's really all I think about when I, pick out books. So basically this book, I'm gonna have to read the synopsis because I don't know anything about it. But when Arthur and Rose were little, they were the heroes of Roar, a magical world they invited where their wildest creatures of their imaginations roamed. And now they're 11, Roar is just a distant memory, but it hasn't forgotten them. Oh! Okay, and it looks like Roar is real or something, like their imaginative Roar becomes to life and they get to go into this new world and there's dragons and their grandfather needs help. This seems like a really good book, honestly. I'm so excited to read it. It's really, really short though, that's what I know. I think this is a middle grade book, which I need to read more of, and it's basically about like it's like, I don't know, like any other like adventure fantasy middle grade book, and it starts in the real world, which I kind of like that stuff. Like, it's kind of like The Land of Stories by Chris Colfer or something like that, where they get transported to a new magical world, especially a world that they created and that they dreamed of. It's super cool. So yeah, I can't wait to read that. The next book that I want to read is Infinity Sun by Adam Silvera, and I'm currently trying to do a basically read through of all Adam Silvera's books because his books are so good. I also don't really know much about this, but this is a fantasy book. I know I've read like 2 books by Adam Silvera that were like contemporary, so I'm really excited to see if he's going to make a good fantasy book. And so basically this seems like really good. I'll read the synopsis for this one for a little bit. But growing up in New York, brothers Emil and Brighton always idolized the Spellwalkers, a vigilante group sworn to rid the world of specters. While the Spellwalkers and other celestials are born without powers, specters take them, violently stealing the essence of endangered magical creatures. Brighton wishes he had a power so he could join the fray. Emil just wants the fighting to stop. The cycle of violence has taken a toll, making it harder for anyone with the power to live peacefully and openly. In this climate of fear, a gang of specters has been growing bolder by the day. Then, in a brawl after a protest, Emil manifests a power of his own, one that puts him right at the heart of the conflict and sets him up to be the heroic spellwalker Brighton always wanted to be. Brotherhood, love, and loyalty will be put to the test, and no one will escape the fight unscathed. And so this is a really good concept. I'm really excited to read this. It seems like a kind of like a world, like a real world, what's called like a paranormal fantasy. It's another 9-hour book, which I'll just a little bit on the longer side of this month, but I'm still excited, and I really like the whole idea with, like, I love books that kind of test the concept of brotherhood, and like 2 brothers are on opposite sides of the spectrum, and I'm really excited to read that. And we've got fantasy, and it's gonna be good. I hope it's good. Adam Silvera, please. Okay, and phew, we have finally gotten onto the last audiobook of this month's TBR. I know I've been talking about this for a lot, but we've got Carrie on, which is by Rainbow Rowell, and I know so many people love this book. I don't even know how many stars it has on, like, Goodreads, but, like, seriously, everyone loves this book. I've heard so much good things about it, so I really want to read it, and I also haven't really read into it much, but it seems like kind of like, I don't know, it seems like a childhood story almost, but in a young adult form. Like, it seems like if you were watching like a young adult, like a childhood TV show. I don't know, it just has like that concept, but it's grown up to like be like a young adult book. So it's really cool. I'll read this one again. I keep reading off the synopsises because I don't know anything about these. But Simon Snow is the worst chosen one who's ever been chosen, which chosen one which the chosen one trope is one that I like, so I'm excited to read that. Anyways, that's what his roommate Baz says, and Baz might be evil and a vampire and a complete jit, but he's completely right. Half the time Simon can't even make his wand work, and the other half he starts something on fire. Oh, we've got some like magic going on, don't we? Harry Potter vibes. His mentor's avoiding him, his girlfriend broke up with him, and there's a magic eating monster running around wearing Simon's face. Baz would be having a field day with all this if he were here. It's their last year at the Wharf blah 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 School of Magics, and Simon's infuriating enemies didn't even bother to show up. Carry On is a ghost story, a love story, and a mystery. It has just as much kissing and talking as you'd expect from a Rainbow Rowell story, but far, far more monsters. Oh, and this is a 14-hour book, so this is going to be an adventure. It's going to be a long book. It's probably going to be the longest. This is the longest one of my audiobook TBR. But yeah, this seems really exciting. I've read a lot of good things about it again. It has some Harry Potter vibes to it. It has chosen one trope. I don't know. I feel like it has all the elements that have a good story, so hopefully, let's pray we get a good book. Okay, alright, that's the end of the audiobook TBR, and honestly, all these audiobooks are new books, and I'm so excited to dive into a lot of new stories and listen to them and talk with you about them. It's going to be a really great month in terms of audiobooks, and I'm so excited to continue, and I'm so glad that I have Libby now. If you haven't downloaded Libby, the app Libby, and see if your library has it, like, it's awesome. Okay, now let's get into the physical book TBR. Alrighty, now we have got, I already read one book, this month in terms of physical coolness, and it was Fablehaven by Brandon Mole. Thanks so much to KOTLC Fantasy Fanatics for sending me this book. I will make sure to link to his channel down below if I remember. Someone remind me in the comments if I haven't, because I don't know. I want to thank you so much for sending me this book to read. And this is basically a Brandon Mole book, which if you guys did not know, I don't know if I shared this on my channel, but I read this one series by Brandon Mole. It's called Sky Raiders when I was a child, and I was borrowing it from one of my friends, Riley, actually, and I don't know, I feel like there's a period of my life where I feel like it was just a dream to me and I didn't actually read them, but I recently found the author to that series, Brandon Mole, and it was the Sky Raiders series, and so now I want to read that again. But also I'm reading Fablehaven by Brandon Mole, which I didn't ever want to read because of the covers, but I so underestimated because of the cover, because this is an amazing book. It's basically about these siblings, this boy and this girl named Kendra and Seth, and basically they are children, and they're basically going to their grandparents' house when their mom and dad are going on a cruise somewhere for like 3 weeks, and basically they discover that their mansion that their grandparents have is basically in a magical sanctuary for dangerous creatures. They start uncovering just a lot of secrets basically, and even within the house, like there's like secret attics, and like they have to unlock doors, and like they go outside and find secrets there. There's witches in the woods and dangerous creatures, and they drink milk and they start seeing creatures. Like, it's really cool. I don't know how much to explain it to you, but then there's a problem that happens on Midsummer Night Eve, where basically creatures from all over the woods, magical creatures like trolls, you know, fairies, all that stuff, and they're basically like trampling, and somehow like her grandparents and everyone gets basically taken away from them. They're on their own in this really dangerous property, and they have to solve the mystery, get their grandparents back, and like defeat all the evil that's going on. It's a really freaking good book, and I read this in like 16 hours. I like stayed up for like 3 hours reading this, and then I read this between classes. I read this while I was in class. It was this good. It was that good to read. So yeah, I really implore you to check out Brandon Mole's work. He has some really good books. He's some really freaking good books. Middle grade books. Alright, next up we've got The Explorer by Catherine Rundell. I have not read this book yet, and I'm excited to. I actually read this all the way back in my, like, December book haul of last year. I got this in December of last year. So I've almost had this for a year without reading it, and I'll leave my book haul up there for you guys. It was really fun. I hauled, like, 30 books. I got 30 books in the total of December. It was really fun, and I have to make my summer book haul, too. I have so much videos to get to, anyways. Basically, this is a survival book. I know I read this synopsis like the other day, and their plane is like flying through the Amazon jungle and it crashes, and it's like the classic thing, like no other adults survive, it's just him and 3 other kids, like literally every other survival book. But I like cliche survival books, if that makes any sense. Like, I just love seeing them crash into different scenarios and have to like work together as a team and survive. I honestly really like that kind of stuff, so I'm excited to dive into this one. And also with the Amazon jungle, like usually I read survival books within, I guess, like a 4. I've read like one in a Canadian forest forest with the hatchet, and I've also read one on an island, or two island, with the Stranded series by Jeff Probst, but I've never really read one in the Amazon jungle. I'm excited to read that, especially because the Amazon jungle is so interesting. I might learn something new about the Amazon jungle, so it's going to be like a nonfiction and a fiction combined. I'm going to be learning so much and reading so much this month. It's going to be great. Anyways, the next book series, book blah blah blah, that I'm going to read this month is The Tales of Despero by Kate D. Camillo. I read this about every year if I can, and this is a really short book, honestly. Like, I will be able to get through this like really quickly, probably in one day, honestly. It's like 200 something pages, and there's a bunch of images, but this is basically like my childhood book. One of my childhood books. I started reading this in 5th grade, and I bought a copy, and I've just read it, keep reading it, and keep reading it, and keep reading it. This is basically the story of mouses and rats and like servants. I don't know. It's really basically that. There's so much like background noise going around me right now. It's like kind of like anxiety. But basically the Tales of Despero is again about this mouse that is kind of like born weird. He's really small and his ears are really big. And basically what ends up happening is he's just like he's not like other girls, or he's not like the other mouses. He gets expelled into the dungeon where the rats live. And then there's also this perspective from the slave girl, or she's a slave because she got sold by her father into like this, like, I don't know how to explain it, to this other guy, and then she becomes a slave of the castle. And basically that ends up happening is like this mouse, this rat named Roscuro who lives in the dungeon, and this slave girl named like Miggy or something basically intertwine their relationships, and they're all together, and there's this whole thing with the rat stealing a princess, and then Despero has to save the princess because he's the mouse, and the mouses are good and the rats are evil. It's so weird and confusing, but I love it. It's one of the childhood stories. I think we have the movie as well, and basically if you guys probably a lot of you have read this honestly for school, and it's just an amazing book. That's all I have to say. Alrighty, next up we've got Again But Better by Christine Riccio. I promised myself that I would read this 2 times a year, and it is the second time. I read this like back in the transition from December to January, so I'll have to read this again. And I'll probably read this every like when the year is changing. But I wanted to read this again because this has some really powerful messages and motivation for me that I really like. And I'll go into like what the story's about in a second. But like I just feel like some of these messages and tones and like themes were so important, and so I really wanted to go back and read this again, let it consume me. It is a funny and like quirky and good book, but it just has like those motivational themes and like powerful. I love it. It has some good messages of like second chances and like doing what you love and all that kind of good stuff. But basically this book series, or just book, I don't know what I'm talking about. This book is basically by a booktuber named Christine Riccio, and her channel is called Poland Bananas Books. I really love her content. Don't watch her as much anymore, but still, she's like one of the funniest booktubers out there, and she's one of the most subscribed to booktubers out there. Is the most subscribed to booktuber. Okay, anyways, I don't know what I'm saying. This series is about this girl named Shane who resembles a lot like Christine, or she is a lot like Christine, and she is basically going on a studied abroad program to London because she feels like she wants to start college over. She had a really bad experience when she was in person college. Like, she was not making any friends, she was just doing grades, she was single, like all that kind of good stuff, and so she wants to do another chance. So she basically created this whole fake like pre-med program for her parents, and she basically booked it to go to a creative writing program in London. And so now she's having to fake to her parents that she's in a writing program because that's what she truly loves to do. She doesn't want to be a pre-med. When she meets this boy named Pilot, some bad stuff happens, and there's this element of magic that comes in halfway through, which I really liked, because a contemporary isn't a good contemporary unless it has a little bit of magic in there. Well, it is a lot of magic, but I don't know. Anyways, and there's a romance, and there is a lot of themes of like, doing writing instead of pre-med because that's what she loves doing. And we just get to see a whole scope of her life, whole scope of her 2 lifetimes. And I don't know, I think it was just a really powerful book with those messages, with the relatable and diverse characters. I really loved reading it. It was really powerful. That's just what I want to say. Like, it was really emotional, powerful. Loved it so much. Alright, and the next book on my TBR is Percy Jackson and the Olympians. And as you guys know, I have a whole history about my opinions on Percy Jackson. I made it clear from the start that this is a popular book series that I do not like. I do not enjoy this series, but for some reason, I've recently started blanking on even why I dislike this series. So it's a perfect timing. My sister got this book to read for her English class, and and I'm just going to steal it from her sometime this month while she has this book, and I'm going to read it again. And I want to do a whole video basically on this because I want to see, why do I dislike it so much, and do I even truly dislike it? I'm going to read it again just from a totally new perspective, see if I enjoy it, and then I'll make a whole video discussing my thoughts. But yeah, basically I just didn't enjoy the series, first of all, because of the characters. I remember that being a thing that, like, when people asked me why I didn't like it, that would be something that I really said. I didn't like the characters because they weren't relatable, and they were just characters that I didn't root for. Like, I didn't ever really like the characters at all in this series. I liked the characters in Magnus Chase, another series by Rick Riordan, but I did not like the characters in this. Plot was good, I remember saying that, but I just didn't like the characters. Also, it felt really immature, like it felt really childish, and I guess some stuff was convenient, and I honestly didn't also like the mythology in this one. I love the Norse mythology in Magnus Chase, didn't love the Greek mythology, so I guess those are three big reasons, but I'm gonna see, like, if I can revoke that. I'm gonna see if I can join the fandom. I'm gonna see what the hype is all about, if I like it or not, and if I don't like the series, it's gonna be the end, but if I like this book, I might continue on with the series. But yeah, I just wanted to give you guys a little backstory of my thoughts of Percy Jackson and why this is such a huge thing to talk about in this video, because a lot of you guys are like, what, he's reading it again? Because, you know, I've always been like so adamant about hating this book, but I want to see why. I really want to notice why, because it's been 2 years since I read this series, and I want to understand where I'm coming from. Alright, and the next one is Redwall by Brian Jacques. That's probably not, I think his last name is like Jax or something boring, but I like to say Jacques, Brian Jacques. And this is a really fun series that I want to dive back into. I read this in like 5th grade, so I want to see if I still enjoy this. I bought this book because I needed to remember. Like, I needed to remember the series so that I could come back to it, because I started slipping. Like, over time, you start to forget the book titles, and so I forgot what this book series was called. I texted my friend who I read the series with. I was like, oh my gosh, what's this series called? It's with the mouses, and I was looking it up. I was looking up, like, mouse book, blah, 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 and I finally found it, and I bought it because I needed to remember the series. It was so good. It was a big part of my childhood. And yeah, I want to read it again. And this is basically a series all about, I feel like something was about to follow me. Oh, it was a book that fell down on my bookshelf. It's all about animals. Like, there's no humans. I love that. I love not seeing humans in books. But yeah, it's basically like mouses and ferrets and moles and like rats. Basically all about mammals, or like little rodents. It's taking place in this like abbey, this Stonewall Abbey in the Mossflower Wood, and the Redwall Abbey, and basically these rats are like attacking them. And then Martin, the warrior, I guess, rises and has to go on this quest to save them, and Cluny the rat is trying to take over, and it's like really interesting. It's like the most pure medieval book that you can get, honestly. Like, I remember them like being so funny about it too, like, oh, let me eat my rice cakes and my truffle, and you know, like stuff like that. And like, I remember, oh, this series was all about food. There was so much mention and talk of food. It got my mouth watering, like all the desserts and the pecan pies, and it honestly also felt a lot like fall. And so as we're going into fall, this will be a perfect transition, going into the more like cozy kind of feel that this has and the medieval feel that it has. So yeah, I'm just really excited to jump back in, honestly. I'm so excited, and I don't know, I don't remember a lot about these series in this book, and hopefully I'll have a lot of good thoughts for my wrap up. But yeah, that's another book. Okay, sorry about that, guys. I had to go put some more storage into my camera or whatever, because I've been recording for like 45 minutes as of this point. This is a long TBR, so I understand this is going to be a very long video, because like, let's just think about it. Even if I'm going to talk about each book for 1 minute, that's still 20 minutes, and like, that's not realistic for me. I talk about books a lot more than 1 minute, so even like with 1 minute 30 seconds, that's like a 30-minute video. So this is going to be a really long video, basically talking about just like the 20 books that I have on my TBR, which I've never had such a big TBR, so I understand. Okay, anyways. Okay, and those eagle-eyed viewers out there might know that I just took 3 books off my shelf, and they are in somewhat of this vicinity. And those books are, and kind of are my last books on my TBR, are Brazinger, and we've got Eldest, Inheritance, and we've got the little short book, and I'll go over each. But basically, these are books 3 and 4 in the Inheritance Cycle Trilogy. I didn't read any of the books last August, or like I was reading the second book like for the whole half of August, and it was just really slow. These are like kind of like my least important books on my TBR, because I'm really focusing this month on reading books that are quick, that I'm going to be able to read very big, you know, very quickly, and like very fast, and they're like really smooth, and they're not slow. These books are very slow and tend to be slow, and this book's like 800 pages, this book's like 900 pages. So again, I might not read these books this month just because I'm trying to focus on reading as much as I can. That's like my goal. I'm on a reading streak, and I feel like these books can really just kind of get me in reading slump. So yeah, I mean, I might read these, I might not read these, we'll see. I might even just read one of these, but after I do read these 2 sometime this year, I'm going to get into the 4 Fork, the Witch, and the Worm by Christopher Perlini, and these are like extra stories in the epilogue, or like it's almost like an epilogue book, but it's basically like aftermath of these two books. Like it has 3 stories about Aragon, has a story about like Murtagh, if you know that character, and also has this whole new like myth story, kind of fairy tale almost thing that I really like. I don't know how to explain it, but like it's just a really good short book. It's like only like 200 pages or something. The book is like the size of my hand. Like, you know, it's really quick. I can read it in like 2 hours, and I'm excited to dive back into that as well, because I remember that book being really good, like just full of short stories, and then also the thick books too. We might try to get to those, but yeah, I think that wraps up my TBR. Alright, slight interruption there, but that does indeed wrap up this video. I just checked, and I'm pretty sure I captured everything on the TBR. I think there's like 20 books in total, and I really hope I can get through these, honestly. I can read an audiobook, and my audiobook and my physical book reading is honestly has nothing like related at all, so I can read about like 3 to 4 audiobooks per 10-day capita, and so if I just read 3 books per 10 days, I get the 9 audiobooks. That's fine. And then if I read like an audiobook or a physical book every 3 to 4 days, I should be able to get close. If I can even get to 15 books, I'll be really happy with myself, even if I get to 10 books, because last month I read 4.5 books. Wasn't that happy about that? So yeah. Also, I'm going to be doing a video soon, a surprise video. It'll be probably on a Monday, not on my upload schedule, to just kind of go over some of my recent reads, because I feel like with all this bookshelf content and stuff, and I was reading The False Prince, and I never told you guys how I thought of that, and like Simon vs. Homosapiens Agenda. I really want to go deeper into that. I also want to go deeper into the Ruin of Goreland, Rangers Apprentice stuff. I want to do a recent reads video sometime, probably after the beach, after I get all that beach reading done this weekend. So yeah, there's just a lot of stuff to come, and a lot of books to be read this month. So definitely, guys, wish me luck in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like. Leaving likes really does help to support me. Also, make sure to subscribe to my channel down below. We are on the road to 1,300 subscribers. We're already doing really good, and I love you guys' support. Also, make sure to leave a comment down below. What are you planning to read this month? What do you think of my TBR? Am I too ambitious for my own good? Or what do you guys think? And also, make sure to share this video with a friend. Share my channel with a friend. If maybe even 20 of you guys get one of your friends to subscribe, and you don't even have to like be weird about it. Just send one of my videos to your friend and be like, subscribe. And then if just 20 of you guys do that, I'll have 20 more subscribers, so just share my video with a friend. Also, click up there if you want to watch my last video. It was really fun. It was my bookshelf reorganization video. One of my favorite videos ever. I love doing bookshelf stuff, and it was so crazy to just see how my empty shelves transformed into this. Like, I'm so happy with how everything worked. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I think that wraps up all that I had to say. Make sure to click on one of the end screens, or click on my description, one of my watch next videos. Like, watch one of my other videos. Anyways, love you guys so much. See you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Bye, everyone. Happy reading.
She's a Mona Lisa.